I avoided talking about this on the show yesterday. With the California fires, like when we had the show yesterday, still very much out of control, the devastation there. I wanted to be kind of tactful, and so we didn't dive into some of the underlying narratives that people were bringing up right away, like the Los Angeles fire chief and her commitment to DEI above all else. But now that we're a day removed, I want to talk about that a little bit. This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Sick of fad diets that work for a couple months and then you gain all the weight back? Well, I'm down 37 pounds on the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic program, and I've kept that weight off for more than a year. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. There's more to this story about, it's Kristen Crowley, who's the fire chief, and she's the first female fire chief, and she's also a lesbian. Like, I genuinely don't care. Don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what you got going on under your shirt or in your pants. Can you do the job? Are you competent? Obviously, you guys know I'm not in favor of DEI hires. I don't know if this is a DEI hire. If she is qualified for the job, great. But it's the fact that whenever there is a hire like that, they make it about that. They make it about the gender. They make it about the sexual orientation. It was like when Biden appointed Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court. She was very qualified. You might not like her ideology, but she was very qualified on paper for the Supreme Court. But he made it about the color of her skin, which to me just undercut her qualifications and made her look like a DEI hire. Now, the problem I have with the fire chief, Kristen Crowley, is they have had so many like actual fundamentally concerning things going on in the fire department there, like a big slash in their budget. Yet she's out there talking about DEI. She's out there celebrating DEI and gay pride and saying it's her number one priority to make the fire department more diverse. And I can't help but wonder if there was less of a focus on that, less money being spent on that, would you have had more time to focus on, more money to focus on, making sure you were better prepared for what you knew was an eventuality, this catastrophic wildfire ripping through the city? So 1 month ago, this is December 4th of 2024, Kristen Crowley, the fire chief, sent a letter to, it went to elected leaders, but like the mayor of LA and others who are the board of commissioners for the fire department, et cetera. And it spelled out this massive budget cut that they were getting to the department and why she is opposed to it. And I think this letter is great. I mean, she's standing up for her fire department and laying out, it's like, I mean, it looks like she had a crystal ball. I just want to read it for you. So the Los Angeles City Fire Department is facing unprecedented operational challenges due to the elimination of critical civilian positions and a $7 million reduction in overtime staffing hours. These budgetary reductions have adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations such as technology and communications infrastructure, payroll processing, training, fire prevention, and community education. In addition to these impacts, the reduction in overtime hours has severely limited the department's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires, earthquakes, hazardous material incidents, and large public events. Specialized programs and resources such as air operations, tactical EMS units, disaster response, and community emergency response teams, which rely heavily on overtime hours, are now at risk of reduced effectiveness. And then she says this report provides an in-depth analysis of these cascading impacts, underscoring the critical need for resource restoration to ensure operational readiness, firefighter safety, and the delivery of high-quality public service. So just 1 month ago, the fire chief in LA, who's now under scrutiny for focusing on DEI efforts, was sending the board, the fire commissioners, a letter basically saying this money that the city and Mayor Karen Bass has cut from our budget hurts our ability to respond to mass casualties, to train our firefighters for wildfire prevention and fighting wildfires. I mean, it's literally like crystal ball stuff. And now you see the situation that we're in right now. I'll revisit that letter in a moment. But Mayor Karen Bass, as you know, she was out of the country. She was in Ghana. And she's trying to get a flight back. And this Sky News reporter confronts her on the jetway, on the jet bridge. And here's what she said.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them?
Wow. Nothing to say. She had nothing to say. Now, his questions got a little hostile, but at the beginning, do you have anything to say to the residents as their homes burned? Do you regret cutting money from the fire department? They're trapped in a jetway together, and she doesn't have anything to say. I mean, it's absolutely horrific. And so clearly, on the cut of funding, it reminds me of like the defund the police movement, where everybody's like, oh yeah, take money away from them. And now they're all, oh my gosh, why? We don't have enough officers to staff the city. We're spending too much money on overtime, et cetera. It's like they do these things without thinking of the consequences. But back to that fire chief for a moment. This is from the Daily Wire. Los Angeles fire chief says DEI is a top priority. So I have a hard time squaring if in that letter to the board of directors complaining about the millions of dollars that were cut from their budget that would literally stop them from being able to respond to a wildfire situation like the one happening right now. If she had said, look, cut the DEI has been my top priority, but let's cut our DEI recruitment efforts. Let's take money from elsewhere. Let's take money from the DEI program that I'm spearheading here. So she has responsibility in this as well. When you're prioritizing, you can look at it in Washington State or elsewhere, when you're prioritizing DEI programs, DEI hiring, all that costs money. DEI programs aren't for free. It's not like you just put out a memo saying, come here, people of color and gender diverse people. No, you're out there actively recruiting these individuals and you're spending money on that at the expense of spending money and time and energy and focus on preparing for wildfires, on preventing wildfires, on making sure you have the necessary equipment and personnel. Their priorities are very clear. And so she's not, just because she wrote that letter a month ago, complaining about the lack of money, does not mean she's in the clear here. Here is Chief Kristen Crowley talking to ABC 7 about the importance of her costly DEI program.
Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
And then she, honest to God, turns around and complains that they don't have the money for enough fire personnel, that they don't have enough money for training, fire prevention, tactical EMS units, air operations, disaster response teams. Square that. Nicole, can you play that again? Can you play that clip again?
Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
Oh my God. And then she turns around and has the audacity to complain that they won't have the money to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies, including wildfires. And look where we are now. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to criticize her for her DEI initiatives. And it's just another example of the priorities of the far left. They literally will prioritize their extreme ideologies and identitarianism over people's lives. And if that's not proof, I don't know what it is.